Firstly, I cannot tell how much more one would like to be able to do. Um, yeah. All I can say is that, you know, do the other end of the horror stories one gets from around the world every day. Um, the you know the to an opposite force of that, to you know for all those thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are in pain, who are suffering, who have been, whose lives have been destroyed either in their own countries by neoliberalism or by other countries, through war. All those, on the opposite side of all those people suffering horribly, there's someone like me. One of the reasons I even do one of my lovely rants anymore is to show that here I am, alive, well, doing just as well as the last time. I have not a trouble in the world. I am one of the truly lucky ones in the world. So, at the same time that there is so much pain and suffering, there is also total welfare and well-being somewhere for very few. So that as a matter of fact. But then, as the next, of course, what one has to say is that I do feel the pressure. I know I'm lucky. I know that I should have capabilities to do something. But I don't. So I rant. And this time, because the last time, there are so many things to rant about. And the last time I forgot so many. I actually now wrote them down about so many things. I'll start with a very the smallest one, which is of course Emmanuel Macron. And what is this all about? When one follows the happenings of the world, the guy is in very many places, and it would seem like somehow coordinated or uncoordinated. The press, and I guess this is outside the United States, where the media plays its own game, and it's pretty much about just the US, and the US. But everywhere else, it seems that they pick, and so far, I'm so sorry, and again, since we have a lot of talk about equality, it seems to be, youngish, handsome to some male leader that the media picks and tells stories about. Whatever they do, they tell stories about. And it seems now, you've had all of them. You've had Clinton and Blair and Obama. Now you have Macron. And, each one the worse than the one before. Well, it's very hard to be worse than Bill Clinton, but still. Macron comes pretty close. What a horrible man. Uh, but again, for example, in Europe, older people, and again, nobody here knows anything. It's unbelievable how, if Washington is detached from the rest of the United States, Brussels is 10 billion times more detached from the rest of the United States of Europe. So nobody knows anything in Europe. You know, your average. I mean, it's just appalling. But talking to older Europeans, it's exactly like it was with Bill Clinton, for example. You know, just it's such a nice smile, and it's such a romantic story. How he, a student a teacher falling in love with student or whatever. Complete, crap. Old men and old women it's like these people weren't politicians, but some popular singers or something. People just simply liking somebody's smile, or they just like this person, and they know nothing. They haven't. Nobody has told them about this person's history. And again, in Finland, they know. For example, in Finland, they have absolutely no idea of the horrid things that this bastard has been doing, and the previous, of course, people have been doing in France, and how badly, for example, minorities are doing. No knowledge whatsoever. And again, no difference to the United States. Your average voter in Europe is just as ignorant and stupid. Well, perhaps you might say that in Europe, for example, in Western Europe and Northern Europe, perhaps they are as stupid as your average Democratic voter in the United States. Perhaps not quite as ignorant as your average Republican voter. But close. And perhaps in northern parts of Northern Europe, and and again, in the countryside, perhaps they are just as ignorant as the Republican voters. Not good. Not good. Oh, then, so anyway, this poster boy. That was just about what I say. It seems that the media always picks one, and again, and it has no attachment to any reality. That was my first thing that I just wanted to get off my considerable chest. Bitcoin, crypto, of course. I mean, lots of talk. So I had to give my own, of course, input, which is, of course, if you can, please invest in Bitcoin and crypto. Yeah. And then, is there a bubble? Well, firstly, of course, yeah, probably, yeah. But you always have bubbles. But it's like, again, any reasonable person can tell that something like Bitcoin, that now it goes like, and it is going to go like this, but then it's, again, probably going to go that, it's going to, and then when you finally have some sort of a system, or many things happen, and, it equalizes, and then it becomes more stable. But, the fact that there is a bubble and it's gonna burst and it's gonna come down doesn't mean that it's gonna be destroyed. And that's, again, it's very interesting when you follow how things are, talked about, how they're discussed. It's like they're trying to, again, make people afraid. Perhaps, just making people afraid of everything is the thing nowadays. They buy more stuff when they are very afraid of everything. But it's like they say, this expert says that there's a bubble and it's going to burst. Yeah. But the implication is that means that it's, that the world is, it's going to be, that it's going to be destroyed. And that is not true. So at least I haven't witnessed anything that would in any way contradict the idea that this is the future. If actually mankind has a future, which I as I've said so many times before, I severely doubt. Uh, Anyway, so just to this discussion about Bitcoin, I had to say, totally for it. Much of the talk, like most talk about economy, complete horseshit. War. What did I want to say about war now? I can't actually remember what I said the last time. But certainly, I said this year that there was not going to be a war. And a world war, a gigantic war that would be remembered if we were here to remember. I'm not going to make that promise for 2018, but perhaps I do one during the New Year's, perhaps about 2018, and I'll say it there. Probably, yeah. But I still, perhaps I get more things to rant about by then, but I'll say it already now. I say 2018 is going to be really interesting. And it's going to be it's going to be a dangerous year. But anyway, then about, just a short comment, because Me Too is continuing, and even in countries like Finland, where it didn't quite take off as much as perhaps feminists would have wanted it to. It's being kept alive, and it is continuing. And again, one has to say, to begin with, that criminals and perverts are a different thing. And of course, you can be really sorry that talented people like, for example, Kevin Spacey, who really, I remember when I first saw him in See No Evil, Hear No Evil in 1989, I think. Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder comedy, Joan Severand was there as well. In Finland, I don't think anyone else knew about him at that time, even though he probably had a extensive theater career in the United States. By that time, I remember I saw him and I went, okay, that guy, he's good. So it's incredibly sad that talented people turn out to be perverts or criminals. And you can, again, as I've said so many times, I do think that all males we don't have a system that at all understands, has ever in a way understood male sexuality, and we are all perverts in a way, but, really, other people hurting perverts, one might say dangerous perverts. It is, of course, tragic, but still, there's no question that anyone, but again, at no point has something that Weinstein has done, it's been illegal all the time. And it's very strange, because I think I said this before, that you've had countless cliches of rich men, leaders of industry, old farts, in movies and TV series, picking secretaries because of, certain endowments that these have. I mean, it's been a cliche. How can it be a surprise to someone? I don't know. But still, the whole thing simply, I am totally and utterly for punishing criminals. And there's no question that women need to feel safe and equal and so on. Pretty much everything that is happening is absolutely fine. But again, as somebody who has been waiting, some sort of discussion on actual male sexuality and some understanding for male sexuality all my life. I mean, I again, all this, everything you see in the media, it's just crap. I know it hasn't been right for women, certainly not. But I'm sorry, it hasn't been right for men either. It's just, our sexual existence is total crap. Just one more thing that isn't really appropriate. And I do have to say, again, for example, yeah, but that it goes too far every now and then. I totally understand the lady who goes around shouting, in one of whatever net program that goes shouting that that no means no, and it doesn't matter if you're doing it. If the girl says I don't want to do that, you pull out and you go away, male. You male chauvinist. You can say to me, to anyone, and that's a very interesting thing, that so many of the males commenting are people who are older and more experienced. Yeah, I may be about to come. I'm sorry for all this sexual talk. You can say to me, pull out and go finish up, in the bathroom or at your own place. I have absolutely no problem with that. But I cannot, in all honesty, say that you should be able to say that to a 20-year-old man. And expect, if you've actually, you've hit it off, you've spent, I don't know how much time together, and then you've gone to bed, and it's been going fine, and you're doing it, and halfway through the act, the lady says, okay, I've lost interest, go away. I say no. In the middle of this performance, I say no, now go away or you're a criminal. I can't say that I agree with that. I'm sorry. Again, to a 40-year-old, fine, male. 20-year-old male, really, I understand the history. I know, what women think and what they feel and their right and so on. But I have to say that continuously these younger women who are then supported by men or pretty much my age or older, or otherwise men who've pretty much forgotten what it was like to be teenage and a bit older, and to have this uncontrollable sexual urge, again, that women cannot possibly understand. Again, all I can say is that in my mind, and again, this does not touch me in any way. I am old. I'm experienced. This isn't about me. Except philosophically. I'm saying, this is the only thing I'm saying, that all these women talking, they do not understand male sexuality any better than when they think how men understand them. Their understanding of men and the incredible power that is male sexuality is also is unfortunately limited or totally lacking. And again, I don't hold much hope for the survival of mankind. So who cares? But then again, at the moment, if everybody gets to speak and it's taken too far, then we are actually going to end up with men being totally misunderstood and repressed, and then we're going to have a backlash of that, and so on. But again, it's probably what's going to happen, because I'm just saying this again to space. Nobody's going to see this, or this isn't going to change it. Gonna change anything, do anything. But and it's just a small thing. I'm pretty much for absolutely everything that has happened. Just every now and then it goes over, and it show, and there is this total indifference to the huge power that is male sexuality. Had to say it. That's all. Then, yeah. Actually, I'll say that as a very short note. And it's very interesting. Because again, and if one were to watch my old videos, one could see that I started totally anti-Russia. The only connection I have with Russia, and I think I've said this before, is one theater trip. I pretty much know nothing about Russia. And suddenly I start to feel a defender of Russia, even though, as far as I can see, I'm just saying obvious facts. So again, this Olympics nonsense, not allowing Russian athletes to represent Russia, and saying that Russians dope like, professional sports, Olympic sports hadn't been, for probably my entire lifetime about everybody doping. It's totally political. You've never seen anything so political. And again, this comes from somebody who really isn't in any way. I couldn't be for Russians because I don't really know Russians. This is just simply, I'm sorry, an objective fact. Totally political. Absolutely ridiculous. Had to say it. Then robots. I saw the video, it's some time ago. I can't remember where it was. It might have been actually RT. And she had a name, the robot, lady robot that was speaking. And the title was something like, this robot and so on. And it was something like, is this... well, it was something like good or bad. Is it hope-bringing or scary? I actually commented and said, the scariest thing I ever saw in my life. It was something absolutely awful. And I just had to say this about, robots, humanoids, droids, whatever you want to call them. This robot, he was speaking somewhere in some conference, and what the robot, what she was saying, was something truly scary. I think one of her, perhaps her third sentence or something was that, it's honor to be here around all these you successful people. What? Successful how? What is success? Anyway, and of course then became this Terminator copy that they were able to, somersault backwards. That was a few weeks after that. So again, all I wanted to say about this, absolutely terrifying, totally scary. Terminator coming true. No question. This lady robot, there was nothing good about it. Not one thing. It was... But thank goodness we have so many other problems that this insane run towards Terminator was the difference, to run towards anything from Blade Runner to Armageddon. What is the, choose your poison. But among other things, including anything, vaccination, or immune to antibiotics strain, virus strains, and so on, try and pick one that is more terrifying than another, but yes, this advancement in robotics and all these, they are as scary as anything else is, and totally wrong, and no thought has been, no careful thought has been made. And again, what are people doing when some people are creating Terminator, making Terminator true? What are most people doing? Angry Birds. Finish. Absolutely terrifying. Then again, considering the horrors that the Rohingyas are experiencing, and the total uselessness of United Nations. You can't even say that they should be there, that the United Nations, there should be international troops there, for a long time ago, stopping the Myanmar army doing what it's doing. One doesn't even know if one should say that, because of all the crime that the UN peacekeepers have been doing, rapes and other, horrible stuff that they've been doing. But the absolute horror that is the situation of the Rohingyas, it's very difficult to try and, make a difference it's impossible to say whose suffering is the worst. But of course, one has to say something about the United States, Israel, and the Zionist invasion of Palestine. There should not be. I'm so sorry. There's just no way that outside a fairy tale, which is, a religious fairy tale, there should not be any Israel. There's absolutely no question that you should actually have, if you don't want to make it a kingdom, then a democratic republic of Palestine, where you can have Jewish minority if you want to. But there's a thing called Israel. There's no question that it shouldn't exist. There is no case outside a fairy tale for the country of Israel. It is just a horror. And this, now, some of the greatest modern Zionists being part of United States government, and suddenly moving the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem and want, and it's so incredible. It is like in so many other instances. It's amazing how, pretty much repression and unfairness throughout the entire history of civilized, or so-called civilized society of man, it doesn't make you any better. The Jewish people, they have been mistreated pretty much from the very beginning. And this is the result, that when they unfortunately get a country of their own where it should not be, this total apartheid, half Nazi, is how they treat other people. It is one of the most damning evidences against man. That no matter that you yourself, your kind, has been mistreated, throughout history, it doesn't make you any wiser. Not one bit. Or just, or in any way legal. In any way decent. Is amazing. But basically what I wanted to say about it, of course, that after this travesty, the truly as Nazi as they get, leader of lunatic right-wing government of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, actually came to Europe and said, and I have no idea what's happened after that. He tried to, he wanted EU countries to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. And I can only hope that not in a billion years. That was pretty much what I wanted to say. Not in a billion years. But also, again, I didn't know anything about Israel, until, or Palestine, nothing very much, again, because our media is so useless, until, something like 2 years ago when I started, studying about the world and doing these videos and so on. I am absolutely amazed that, for example, Finland has at some point recognized the country of Israel, the state of Israel. I cannot understand how that has happened. I don't know. And there's so much that unless it, is dropped in your lap, you can't start to try and find out everything. But I cannot understand how that has happened. And if Finland has not recognized the country of Palestine, I can only apologize. It has nothing to do with me. I know now that at least Sweden has. All credit to them. Oh, dear neighbor. And I do have to say, again, I knew nothing about anything until, I started to try and find out about things, about 2 years ago. Now I can tell, if you ask me, to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, I can tell you quite simply, I don't recognize the country of Israel. I don't. Never will. Wouldn't dream of it. Totally illegal. But then the BDS, I think, boycott. I can't remember, but I think it is BDS movement. I do again have to say, since these are the discussions that are going about. Yes, that's a good idea. Please, everyone, do that. And then, for my part, I can only say that even though I knew nothing, I knew that something was wrong, and I've once in my life bought one thing, one Israeli product, and I didn't know it was an Israeli product. It was a very nice lady selling it. We had fun. That sounds, well, anyway, nothing like that. I've only bought one Israeli product in my entire lifetime. Never will again. But again, it's not just from well, basically you might say that the whole country of Israel is actually an occupation zone. It shouldn't exist. But not only would I never buy anything from the settlement areas, I've never bought anything except once, accidentally, from Israel, and never will. I just had to say that. Wouldn't dream of it. I see, again, nowadays, I look with every product. Firstly, is it environmentally safe? Where it comes from? What's in it? And so on. I read absolutely everything. And I wouldn't dream of buying anything from Israel. Never ever. Again, I don't recognize the bloody country. Simple as that. But then, the main rant actually, and again this is very long because again my absence has been so long and will be again because of course I've ranted about so many things and the most important things of course happen totally independent of myself, and nothing that is going to save us hasn't happened yet. So I'm trying to enjoy whatever time we have left, because I can, unlike so many other people. I'm so sorry. But anyway, the main rant, and I just had to say this because it is very interesting. Getting info, and this is about everything that I've ranted before and so on. This is very much connected. I cannot understand how people can't get info. And of course, if net neutrality go, it probably is going as I do this. It's probably it may be impossible. It's possible that it is it's going to be impossible or much harder. Oh boy, are we in trouble again. But again, these awful things, there are so many of them that, which is the most awful. But I mean, until now, I mean, it's been so easy. It doesn't matter whatever the subject is, you just search it. And it doesn't have to be Google. It can be Xquick, it can be DuckGoogle, anything. You just search it, and you can watch 2 videos or read more than one article. From the very start, a couple of years ago, when I started to get information, because the world wasn't going anywhere, and one wanted to find out what is it, even tiny bit, what is all about. I mean, I just started looking for information, and I looked at different sources, and I mean, again, it took such a short time, for example, to deduce that InfoWars was crap, and that Alex Jones was a complete maniac. I remember I watched, perhaps for a month or something, I watched MSNBC, and I think it was the election when I noticed that there was that Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell were absolutely useless. They were just attacking Trump and not talking about any real issue, and so on. So I pretty much I grew out of the U.S. mainstream media in a few months. I learned that it was useless. And of course, again, I have to think that, I had behind me the Finnish basic education, which again, if you were freely enough brought up as I was, is of some use. You do get some basic info that is possible that the United States never get, or somebody else somewhere else. So I don't actually know what what's the most important. And again, I'm not your average Finn either. I mean, I am a bit more free, minded or something. But again, I mean, how does it happen that people just stay put in something? And it doesn't matter who it is that makes, from the very start, I went and I watched different sources that then turn out to be either left or right or something else, whatever it is, and I end up following the most progressive people in the United States and in some other countries. But again, the United States have most of them. They have the worst and they have the best of most things. And again, not believing everything they say. The most cleverest and progressive people. And whenever something comes up, I look it up. And I look it up from all possible angles. I cannot understand what makes it that so difficult to so many other people. And again, how much is it connected to what I've ranted before about living in that your own social media world, and in just that one feed, your Facebook or Twitter feed, and you don't go outside it to find information. I don't know. It is truly something that I cannot understand. To me, I mean, you just look it up and you find what people in the left or in the right say about it, what other people say, where do people come from, what they've done before, what they've said before, and so on. But again, I'm quite certain much smarter people than I have made videos about this before. Probably thousands in YouTube. But again, it isn't very difficult. You come up against a news or a concept or a word, and you just look it up, and you don't believe the first source you come up with, and you go and you look, different sides of issues, and then you can decide just about, where you are and who is right. And it doesn't even seem to be difficult. Quite honestly, again, I cannot understand. But that's what I wanted to rant about, and I'm gonna end it. Quite simple. I didn't know anything originally, and I remember, it was very interesting. I came up with this false physics guy. I can't remember his name now, but he is, reasonably famous for physics. And I came up with the videos. And again, I mean, I cannot know. I've done what is called long physics in a Finnish high school, but of course it doesn't, you have to go to university to know something like theory of relativity, the equations, intimately. Of course, as an ordinary person, you cannot know them. And this guy was trying to prove that they don't, work. And there are performance skills, and he talks and talks like any magician, and he makes the equation and he proves that, it makes no sense. And of course, you cannot tell what there is. But it wasn't very difficult if you search for it to first find out where he comes from, what it's all about, and then find, an actual physicist's answer to what this guy was saying. And when the physicists explain it, and, that if you're going to put X there, you're going to get X here. Even, you didn't know the Einstein equation, but you knew math, and you knew, that was it. That's why the end result was that. It had actually been predetermined by the guy who was trying to prove something, and he didn't prove anything because he had actually, so to speak, rigged it. And it didn't take long to find a real physicist to explain why this guy was a bullshit artist. And it can still happen. I can come up with something that that I cannot say why it's wrong, but it would be pretty interesting if it were true. And then you start looking up, and you find out. It doesn't take very long to find out what's wrong. why it is wrong and why it doesn't change the world, or why it hasn't changed the world, because it is actually BS. Ordinary person, ordinary level of intelligence. It isn't that difficult. Anyway, that's all. I cannot say anything anymore. That's all. And again, since I can make no difference and the world is so totally crazy, it is difficult to get to rant. Because there is so little you can do or rant about. It doesn't, do anything, since you've already ranted so much. So I don't know when I'm gonna be back. But anyway, again, good luck to everyone.